Alright, 2.7b, elementary algebra. We're going to get started with mixture problems. And these mixture problems are where you're taking a certain mixture of, well, in this one, like of an alcohol solution and another mixture of an alcohol solution. When I say solution, it means alcohol plus something else added to it. So we are going to take one solution with a little bit of alcohol in it and another solution with a lot more alcohol in it, and we're going to mix them together and see what our percentage of alcohol is. So if you're trying to put in antifreeze in your car and you're not sure how much to put in, well, you can use problems like this to put a certain percent in, knowing that your freezing temperature of your water will be lowered because of the more intense amount or the higher concentrated amount of antifreeze you put in. So anyway, this first one says how much of a 30% solution and 60% solution do you have to put together in order to get 15 gallons of a 50%? So what we're going to do here is take this container that has a 30%, and we're going to take this container that has a 60%, and we're going to put it in a big container, and at the end we want to have 50%. Okay, so we're dumping this stuff in there, and we're dumping this stuff in there. So we've got to dump a certain amount of 30% in and a certain amount of 60% in to get our percent here somewhere between the two. Okay? So what we're looking for is how much of this and how much of this are we going to have to put into this big container here in order to get 15 gallons of a 50% solution. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so what we're looking for, we know nothing about, is how much of this we have and how much of this we have. Okay, we don't know anything. All I know is if I take 30% of a quantity here and 60% of a certain amount, a quantity here, when I'm done, I'm going to get 15 gallons of this. Okay, so, and again, I do this one a little bit different than the book. I take 30% of some amount, I have no idea what that amount is, plus 60% of some amount. I don't know what that amount is, but I do know that when I'm done, I want a 50% of a 15-gallon solution. So I want something like that. All right, so what do I know the least about? Right now, I know that when I take this amount and add them together, I'm going to get 15 gallons, right? So if I'm going to pour X into this container, so if I'm going to pour an amount of X there, and I'm only allowed 15 gallons total, this here is going to be an amount that's 15 minus X, 15 gallons minus whatever I pour in here. Okay, so let's say that this was 6 gallons. Well, if I've got to add up to 15, 9 plus 6 is 15. So if this is 6 gallons, then I'm going to have to add 9 of this in order to get 15 gallons. And I got that from this being 6 and this being 15 minus 6, which is 9. The difference between what I have at the end and what I put from this can into this. Okay? And the book has a table, and if that table helps you, that's great. So 15 minus X is how much I'm going to put in of that. All right, again, we don't deal with percentages, so we have to change these to decimals. Okay, so let's go ahead and distribute this 6. And I do not know where I got a 0.3 there. That should be a 9, shouldn't it? Equals 0.15 times 15 is 7.5, 7.5. Okay, so I'm going to take 0.30x minus 0.6x, and if you've got a calculator, you'll find out that that's negative 0.30 plus 9, right there, equals 7.5. Okay, so I just moved everything up and out of the way, so I had a little more room to draw here. So I'm going to subtract 9, and I end up with negative 0.30x equals 7.5 minus 9 is negative 1.5. Divide by negative 0.30 to get rid of that whole thing, and divide by negative 3.30, so that goes away, and I have two negatives here, and two negatives always give me a positive, so 1.5 divided by 0.3 is going to give me an answer of 5. So if x is 5, that's how much of the 30% solution I put in, and the other amount was whatever 15, because that's the total, minus 5 is going to give me. So let's see if I can get my little bucket back up here. Everything's kind of all over. There's my buckets. Okay, so remember we have 15 gallons here. And if my x for my 30% was 5, then this means I had to have 10 here. So that when I add those up, I get my 15 gallons. So that's what I was looking for. Alright, what I'd like to do real quick is look at the table that they did, in case you want to do the whole table thing. So let's get rid of a bunch of this writing over here, so we've got things cleaned up a little bit, so I have a little more room. Problem is I have to delete everything one bit at a time. Okay, there we go. Alright, so number of gallons and gallons of alcohol. That's how they do their table here. So of the 30%, and we had a 60%, and we had the mixture, which is 50%. We had that percentage there. So number of gallons that we're going to put in there, we said was x. We didn't know that. The number of gallons in the 60% was 15 minus x, the total amount we had when we got done, minus one of the buckets full, and we got a mixture of 15. The gallons of alcohol would have been 0.3 x, the percentage, times how many gallons we had, and this was 0.6 times how many gallons we had, and again we are looking for a 50% solution. Now I don't know if you find using that table more difficult or easier. I find it personally more difficult, but some people might find it easier. So there it is in case you're interested. And okay, so we're going to jump to triangles now. And triangles, the only thing you need to know about triangles at this point is that the angles, when you add all the angles up, so let's call that A, B, and C. When you add those up, you get 180 degrees. Any three angles. Alright, so in this particular problem that they give us a triangle, and they give us a little bit of information. One angle is twice the smallest. The third angle is 3 times as large as the smallest. So again, we know the least bit of information about the smallest triangle, so we'll call it X. What's the other triangle? Twice the smallest. And the other triangle is 3 times the smallest. And what did we say about angles? If we add all of the angles together, we get 180 degrees, and that's what they're asking us to do. Find the measure. It should not say find the measure of all three angles. It should say find the measure of each angle. Measure of all three angles is 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and add those. 1x plus 2x plus 3x. Divide by 6, divide by 6. Those go away. 180 divided by 6 is 30. So what did I find? The smallest angle is 30. This one is 2 times 30. This one is 3 times 30. 90. So if we add all those up, I get 180 degrees, which is exactly what I want. So that's all you need to know about triangles, and I will stop this video and we will go into some of the problem sets.